Do it. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wait, what's this called? Big announcement coming soon? Oh, yeah.
2.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to the Big Announcement Coming Soon podcast. Been a little break, extra week off. Nick's back joining us. David here as usual, and we're going to talk about crypto this week. Why not, guys? Seems like a good topic.
Yeah, totally. Winning.
Yeah, let's go. Good to be back.
Yes, how's everybody been?
Well. Yeah, good. I think our predictions of last time came true, or at least they're at that point now. So good times.
Is that right?
David's did. I think I called the ETF passing.
We said 38, right? I said 30. I think we both said 38.
Yeah, 38. But
so yeah, it's good times.
and actually, we were supposed to be back a week ago too for that prediction.
Right.
It did hit 38 and came back down, close to it. Anyway,
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Yeah, lots of stuff happened. Binance got changed up in terms of CZ has stepped down. Richard Teng has taken the helm as part of the plea deal. Super bullish. It's funny, like I saw a meme that was like, I don't know, people outside of crypto see like Binance gets fined $4 billion, CZ forced to step down and serve time in jail. And then they're like, crypto people are like, yeah, that's super bullish. And they're like, what? But it is, because it's sorted out. The overhang of the market, Binance gets to continue, which is huge for all alts. And yeah, the game keeps going on because they can afford to pay it, I assume, because the underlying reason behind it all is that they don't want to hurt the consumer through their actions, which is why they're allowing this kind of, I don't know, it's a good deal or like this deal to go through.
Yeah, I have it in my notes as like a meh kind of event. I know we built up to it. We talked about it. I love that it's 4.3 and CZ's been flashing 4 at us for months, but prices didn't care. And I realize banks get fined all the time, but CEOs don't step down. We assume Binance has the money and doesn't have to dump all their BNB to pay for it. But if they have the money, like you said, it was kind of a change of the guard at Binance, not a takedown of a criminal organization. And they did some stuff that was illegal. They paid for it, and that's how finance works in the world. Like, we just don't headline every single bank fine because that's like daily news.
And it was the next step in Operation Choke Point, though, as well, because now it makes Binance not able for Americans to use it. Just heard Coinbase was receiving subpoenas for people using Bybit, sending money to Coinbase. And so like America is being essentially walled off before the ETF launches. And it's like, this is the way you buy crypto. You don't use these other ways. So yeah, it was interesting. Like somebody was saying that like in the future, CX coins are okay, but like DEX platforms will also be wanted by people who want to kind of do swaps on coins that aren't listed, and there'll be quite a lot of volume. And so like almost like having both is kind of going to be critical for the future. It's not like one will beat the other. It's both will have their own individual purpose and use case, which is kind of an interesting evolution.
Yeah, things start on DEXs. Not everything gets launched off Binance Launchpad or Coinbase Launchpad. But it makes sense to do the walled garden. You have the ETF. As Americans, we're not supposed to be on Binance anyway since like 2019. Binance US started. I know I logged off Binance.com onto US once, and then I just went back to Coinbase and DEXs. But I don't know. It was going to happen. It happened, and like you said, Bitcoin's at 38K. The price action didn't care about Binance.
Right.
Or it was bullish that it happened and didn't dump. But either way, like, yeah, I agree. It didn't really react. I mean, I think what's interesting is I wonder if you could start to see like America start to run like premiums on certain coins, because like kind of like the kimchi premium of old with Korean exchanges having difficulty exposure to the outside. You had a premium in the bull market. American markets, because underlying a lot of these coins, the reason that's interesting to have a confluence between SEX and DEX is because you can have pools where like activity on centralized exchanges will impact the pools and vice versa, because that's exactly, I guess that's how you get around. It can be interesting. Like, how do you get around that? Like, you go to Uniswap and anyone can use it. As an American, can you not
Hmm.
use it? Like, how does that work? Yeah, interesting. Not to find out.
Yeah, and then also there's the idea that like Coinbase used to be 3 cryptos, then 5. Now it's overlisted in some people's opinions, but we're also talking about the difference of trading the newest Binance Launchpad shitcoin or trading Bitcoin and ETH. Or I shouldn't even say trading, holding Bitcoin and ETH because it's future money and future compute. We lose access to some small gambling, and that's un-American and dumb. But is it crypto, or are we losing access to 1% or 2% of the market?
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I think it depends on, like, look what Binance US rolled out. It was almost like Coinbase light, right? They only had what, it's 6 to 8 coins or whatever. The walled garden was literally like,
Mm-hmm.
here you can go. No further beyond Polygon, right? Like, they didn't, you know what I mean? They were very I don't even want to say trendy, but they just stuck to their guns of like what was, I guess, like the
They
ones that were approved
playing it
by
safe.
the US.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm curious though, that premium idea is interesting because yeah, I mean, with the accessibility and then the demand of all the other coins and all the other countries, like what does it do to the US in terms of it like walling itself off?
But
Then
I'd hold on before you answer that. The premiums, the kimchi premium, had to do with Korean
arbitrage.
banking. You couldn't
Yeah.
move dollars in and out, so it was the price in won versus price in dollars. But there is no problem using dollars, euro dollars, moving dollars around. So I don't think the red tape creates the same environment where Americans are restricted from dexes, but that doesn't mean that there's only a small supply of a shitcoin on Coinbase that we're driving the price up. And that was the problem is Korean exchanges had a small supply of Bitcoin. For them to get more, they needed dollars. To get more dollars, you could only trade a certain amount of won. And that was the arbitrages if you could get your dollar to won conversion and your Bitcoin moved.
I got you. All right. Interesting.
I mean, that's the interesting thing with the SEC. The one issue possibly tip everything up is the price. Or what is the price of Bitcoin? Where do you read that from? Like, and so like you'll see currently, like when somebody's TWAPing the market through Coinbase, like the Coinbase premium is running like $60 ahead of Binance, which tends to be the seller, and someone between is arbitraging that. And so in a market that's not, you don't have an issuer, I guess. I mean, markets you don't either really, but how do you determine price? I mean, you can do it obviously, but then can that price be manipulated? Is the other thing. Like, can you go on a small exchange or like, can someone brush money back and forth? And that's why in Korea it was like walled off. So here you wouldn't see premiums for a long period of time, but you see it with like I think Chainlink and Sol, the Grayscale trusts are trading like 200% above like what their prices are or something like that right now. Like,
for
so,
the access for it. You're right in that case for sure.
so it's just like weird. ETH premium is down to 7-8%, I think now. So yeah, it's interesting. But yeah,
To me, those seem like the early Bitcoin premiums in GBTC because it was an easy vehicle to own. You might have Coinbase with your Bitcoin if you're a large company or the premium's already closed, but it's that new one, Sol and Chainlink. Oh, hopefully Nick pops back in. And he's back. Oh,
Sorry about that. Outside obstacles.
no worries. I was just gonna say it's that, like you're saying, obstacle to buying. The people who need to buy through the GBTC vehicle or the Grayscale vehicle aren't necessarily grabbing a Solana wallet on their own.
Right.
So as that comes easier, more custody solutions. So it's interesting because I think you're right that the arbitrage is there and it's a custody arbitrage.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think you can really start to see interesting things happen where like different Bitcoin held in different places is worth different amounts due to safety and due to like rates paid to hold it there, kind of like gold. Like if you want to hold it in Zurich in a bank, it costs you a certain amount per year. And so different derivatives of Bitcoin will kind of have different values, kind of like algorithmic stablecoins in a way.
Right.
Don't get caught holding the Poloniex version of Bitcoin, because it may not actually be that kind of thing. There's also the issue of clean and dirty Bitcoin. What's quite interesting is like what happens if a Bitcoin is proven to have been stolen at one point in the past and you hold it now, like you're holding stolen property.
Mm-hmm.
So can you spend it? Is it like, do you have to try and give it back? Like, so you probably will see newly mined Bitcoin run at a premium to older Bitcoin that has like perhaps questionable past.
And that narrative
at some point or whatever
did exactly that a few years ago. It was that, and it was specifically buying from miners that had carbon offsets. This was people like Kevin O'Leary, who are new to crypto, very traditional, coming in saying this is the right way to do this product.
Yeah, totally. I mean, mining is a really interesting subject right now, because actually, if you look at, I forget his Charles Edwards Capriole Investments chart, you see like what's coming up in the halving is a massive decrease in the amount of Bitcoin that gets produced each block, and so it's kind of like a crunch point for miners. Like anyone who's kind of on the edge, just trying to make it, gets like crushed out of the market.
Well, and the edge, 51% is the edge, man, because they're cutting supply in half. So if you're not 51% profitable.
Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, exactly. And so like the hash rate continues on. And so you see a consolidation of the miners and things like that. And so like that's almost kind of like an industry version of like diamond hand, like, sorry, not diamond, like paper hands selling to diamond hands, like the last capitulation, the people who can't handle that change, they're not producing at a rate that's good enough, like whatever it is, that gets flushed out. And then you have strong miners going into the next. So yeah, not talked about much, but interesting.
Yeah, and yeah, tracking that hash rate used to be so important. As it was growing, it seems to have reached kind of that too big to fail number, and people really stopped worrying about the hash rate, it feels like, over the last couple of years. But I have an odd tweet. This is a Sassel tweet, Mr. Ethereum lover. Bitcoin is eventually going to live on as an ERC20 token because the Bitcoin chain, because of the halvenings, is not going to be sustainable. So Bitcoin, the product, the idea lives, the chain doesn't. It's just a token on ERC20. To me, that totally misses the point of Bitcoin and why it's different than Ethereum and why it is hard money and why the chain is important. But that was an interesting idea of, I care about that. He's in crypto and he doesn't. How many more people are on that side that aren't true hardcore Bitcoin believers? That why not Bitcoin as an ERC20?
But
No, it's
why?
like gold.
Like,
It's
why
gold.
would-
That's the gold argument. Because you have paper gold and you have real gold. And the people who really believe in gold hold the real one. And if you just want to trade gold, you'll paper gold on the ETF. So like gold didn't go away, and the underlying is the most critical element. And so if you made the underlying chain irrelevant, then the paper held one is not. Right. But I mean, it is interesting, like unless Bitcoin does start processing value over time, this might happen, but this is a long time away, and it assumes that there's no innovation happening, and there is.
Yeah.
And he's betting against scarcity, right? Is he saying that the halvening will because of its finite like an end, it's not going to work out in the long run? And
yeah.
People will what?
So the block subsidy gets cut down in half, right? And fees, like David was saying, if activity is not high enough, fees are a certain amount. So if it only costs $5,000 to mine a Bitcoin, and right now it costs more, the security of the network is lower, more people can come on to mine and potentially do bad things. Like the cost to mine is what keeps it as a barrier to entry for people doing attacks on it. Sassel's idea is it's not good to mine for the environment. There are 21 million tokens. We make 21 million wrap BTC on Ethereum, or Bitcoin goes proof of stake, as part of his tweet. And I just thought it was interesting he's here. This guy's been around doing ETH stuff. Yeah. He understands the space. He doesn't get why a Bitcoin chain is important. He just thinks the token is. Like it could be like a fair launch Bitcoin 21 mil today. And I just thought that was interesting because he's not wrong in his views as far as his approach. I disagree, but a lot of people agree with him, and right, the market and the majority decide if this stuff is worth anything.
Right.
I mean, I agree. There is a potential path. It's not non-zero that what he says is true. I mean, because essentially Bitcoin's algorithm has to have like cleverly worked out people's behavior over time, and it's worked out so far that the number has gone up substantially. But if the number only goes up a little bit over time, like let's say 30% over 10 years sometime in the future, is it like gold? Like do people keep getting excited about gold? And like I guess the problem is that like it's a technology solution in technology is an always changing field. And so like if at any point in this trajectory where it really starts to get to those hard times where you're mining like, I don't know, 0.16 of a Bitcoin every block, and it's costing you like way more than before, and then an existential threat happens where like Ethereum is suddenly processing more transactions consistently over several years than Bitcoin. Therefore, it becomes a more secure system than Bitcoin. And so you start to threaten its underlying use case. But like melded on top of that is the entire religion and cult of Bitcoin. So like there's this like huge, it's almost like a generation has to go through before the next generation comes in and is like, what, Bitcoin? No, I'm a Solana guy. Or like, and you're starting to see that, but like all of us got in first into Bitcoin, then moved into like Ethereum and alts and stuff.
Right.
It's like the way you had to do it back in the day. And then now there are probably people who've never owned Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But yeah, so.
Yep.
My last big macro topic, and then I want to see what in the world is going on in NFTs, if anything. Are we back yet? But before we get there, Tether and OKX. I love the name. It's a pig slaughtering scam, pig slaughtering romance scam. But more importantly, Tether froze 250 mil with other outside authorities. I can't remember exactly which country. But did Tether go legit, or are they trying to? Do they have morals? Did they say this was wrong? We're fixing this. Like Tether used to be the Wild West, and I think part of the freeze is if we're willing to freeze criminal activity at somebody's request, you don't need to shut us down.
Yeah, my take, I guess, is like, and this is just a guess, but like, so you have Xi Jinping coming to America, and this is a situation where like basically these are Chinese gangs running scams out of Cambodia with Tether as the backed currency, depositing into different banks in America, and essentially like preying on people. And so recently they cracked down on those, and as a result, actually, like part of the rebel group that's fighting against the junta has actually taken control of large areas over there. Anyway, village areas alongside China border. Nonetheless, like maybe that's all kind of like in like it probably in this whole kind of we're cracking down on crypto. It's also talking to China about like Tether being used along its border. China doesn't like that either because it's a threat to the renminbi, and so kind of like a global maybe friendly crackdown around everything is part of it. That would be my guess. But I think, yeah, like exactly, like running scams and getting Tether for them is now going to be a threat, especially to exchanges who allow you to offboard. So OKX is now going to be a friend, and so is Binance. And yeah, I think they're just going to keep cracking down on these ways to get money out of the system, therefore making it harder to make money, or use the system, and they'll use other ways.
Yeah, I mean, the system will be fine to go back to traditional banking, but this at least helps crypto be more clean.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. You'll see both. I think the pendulum will swing. Like you already see like Arkham Intelligence. They were just like, yeah, we're like chain analysis. And they were like, nope, we're like super into hunting people down, and we're on the government side, and that's how it goes. And it was like, interesting. Yet there's a token. I don't know.
Yeah.
government token.
Nick, are we back?
Elements of the NFT space are back. I'd say if you're holding Jack Butcher or any bats, you're probably doing quite well. I think PFPs are always going to kind of take off from time to time, but really they're pretty quiet. And what you see right now is Jack Butcher once again like dominating the NFT space. This time with like another successful drop in collection, his first art collection. So you're seeing a lot more art on like on the mainstream NFTs kind of take over. You're seeing a lot of Bored Ape like converters to Jack Butcher, or they're at least like endorsing it, I guess. So, yeah, I guess what we talked about even a couple years ago, Jeff, with like Oxstock, right? When we were looking at Gen Art, you're seeing that come back around, but this time coming through, popular notable figures like Jack Butcher and Snowfro, who's notorious for squiggles. So that dropped. Jack Butcher stuff dropped. Like Bat's still doing well because he's about to drop a generative art project, but I don't know much about what's going on in the PFP community or the utility, NFT community. Right now, it's all it's Jack Butcher's world, really. His Opepe collection was doing really well. Checks are taking off, up 60%, and yeah, the newest drop trademarks. It was a you know 0.1 ETH the first night, and now I think the floor went up to 0.36, and some of the what rare ones are going for 2 ETH, 3 ETH, 4 ETH right now, and I think you're looking at another squiggle, a squiggle mania, but this time again Jack Butcher led.
So here are my questions about alts to NFTs. Jack Butcher and Squiggles are kind of, especially Squiggles, last cycle, huge, came down like a alts first season. And sometimes alts come back, sometimes they peter out. Jack Butcher kind of came at the end of NFTs. I feel like Checks was in the last bit of the bull run, but is this the same people who've been in NFTs accumulating the bottom of the bear and it's starting to bubble up, or is there finally new excitement, new people coming back? The beginning of a bull or the end of the bear?
I don't think there's new people coming back, but again, you're seeing money come back in the space, right? And it's probably from meme coins because we watched all of this before, right? We saw the pendulum swing and the liquidity flow over to meme coins when Pepe took off. I mean, how did they get $1 billion market cap, or you know what I mean? Or how did all the dexes in, how did all these coins, these like meme coins, shit coins, take off? And it was because the NFTs dried up, right? That's kind of my theory. Like it was always the money being moved around, but I think now what you're seeing is there's a lot of people who got wrecked from those meme coins, and less people in the NFT space. You could say that there are the same people accumulating, but I think there's also a lot of people who probably maybe doubled down or became new collectors or kind of like went deeper in after profiting off of meme coins. Because a lot of people did pretty well, so I think that's happening right now. It's just all about like following the liquidity and seeing where the location is.
Pepe, we get it's out there in the mainstream. Checks. If we're looking at Checks and you're coming in, you've bought your first Ethereum, you've seen Bored Apes around in the past, what is that journey as an NFT person to get as deep into it? Because you understand Jack Butcher and Checks. How far is that removed from Bored Apes or just the normies buying first ETH?
It's pretty far removed. I mean, the Bored Apes bought into it because I think it was a life raft. To be honest, I think if you watch what was happening every other week, there was like Azuki's killing the apes, and then this one's flipping apes, and this was, and really we watched Bored Apes dry out, and we all predicted this during the end of the last bull market. Like, what's going to happen to all of those holding very expensive JPEGs that aren't, or what it's not even the impermanent loss, but it's just a proper loss.
Yeah.
So, I think
like priceless, Nick. Are just priceless. It's what you bought it for. That's what it's worth.
Yeah, it's how you feel about it, man.
What's cool about the Jack Butcher stuff is the changing metadata, the inclusion of different artists, the ability to burn and merge and compose your own checks, and it gets pretty technical and pretty design heavy, which is fun. It's very cool. They got interactive sites and communities built around it. A lot of people make derivatives off of it. So I think there's elements of the community there mixed with like culture. I think proper culture and a notable person behind it.
Yeah,
You
it
know,
sounds fun to stick around for that, even regardless of price action.
I mean, the same. Yeah, it is really. It's always evolving, right? I mean, Bats did a collaboration recently, and a couple others, Snowfro. But I mean, the same question would be like, would if a new ETH user or holder would they really jump into Punk 6529? Would they understand it? And does and then I guess the question is like, is art priceless, or does provenance mean something, or is this just something that will look back as a yearbook or scrapbook of a longer evolution, you know, of NFTs? Because they're not dead; they're just like I think there's more of an interesting focus and consolidation of like the good bits of what could remain.
I mean, I think it's important also to like the ones that we never talk about, like I never say it right. RFT, FK, whatever T, the Nike shoes and NFTs, they're generating like $100 million or something like that, and they're still going. So, like commercial NFTs do well. I think like for me, my lesson from NFTs has been it's not about the art, it's about the founder, and or at least the person who's running the op. So Pudgy Penguins, obviously they've got like whole bunches of like stuff in stores and Walmart, people buying it, and the floors up. It's community. I like Kampai Pandas, and then like you see the floor holding on CryptoPunks coming back. I don't think they're going to go much lower, which is kind of interesting. So yeah, it's a big burning fire, but I think it's the ones that can continue to hold that community. It's like the ultimate community trade. You're like, instead of like selling this coin, which can be held by hundreds of thousands of people, hopefully eventually, only probably 1,000 people are going to hold this, and we're all going to be like super excited about it. And so you better be pretty good at keeping people excited for a long period of time, not just a good artist, I think is the message from my perspective.
But you also have to hope, in terms of even with that sustainable engagement that one hopes for, you also have to hope that like someone's still going to come in and buy your bags, because that community could be airtight. We're all going to list at a 1 ETH floor, but who's buying, right? Who's on the other end? And I think that is until we get a new reason or narrative, and that narrative may not link back to this first.
And you just mentioned the perfect tipping point. You're in the community, but who's going to sell for 1 ETH? No one. You're not supposed to sell. You're in the community. If you have 2, you want to sell 1. If you have 1, you're supposed to keep it. So if you want the price to go up, then you want out of the community. And that's one of those things that we all, if you don't have more than one of an NFT, right? And if you have more than one, you're going to profit. That's your goal. If you don't have more than one, you're supposed to just be in the community and not be playing the NFT profit game, or then the floor shouldn't matter.
Right.
And utility. All my NFTs have utility. Well, at least all my newer ones. And they all hold their floor because there's something happening. Casino behind it, or you get DEX trading fees, or you get free access to the the analysis of the trading group, or whatever it is. Because then there's a natural reason, there's a natural value you would have paid otherwise for it.
Yep.
And that forms a floor. Maybe you're going to subscribe for the next 10 years, and you're like, oh, sweet, I'll just buy this for like $2,000 because it's going to cost me $10,000 or whatever.
Yeah, because I'm happy with my projects that are still working, building, even if the price is going up, because I've got enough dead ones in my wallet that I bought their art and they left.
Yeah, I mean, right, with VFriends and Craniums and others. I mean, like, yeah, there's still value there. There's still value added to the community, and it's a community nonetheless, right? Like, so, and Real Vision's trying to do that. Other like memberships and brands are trying to break in and do that. But yeah, I think we're gonna see an interesting on-chain, off-chain, or not on-chain, off-chain, but like physical digital merger, maybe next iteration. And then see then how it plays in with the metaverse and the larger thing, because NFTs aren't going away. They're just going to be.
They're in Walmart. Pudgy Penguins are in Walmart, and Kampai Pandas are sponsoring UFC. Craniums are opening up the Megadeth thing this week. They're doing the whole Megadeth relaunch of their NFT. Like, these projects that are turning into companies with utility, yeah, they'll be here. They'll be around. I'd say like once Pudgy Penguins got into Walmart, there's a few projects too big to kill now.
Oh yeah.
As
Yeah,
I say
they-
that, ugh.
No, it became blue chip initially. Now people are waiting for the dip to buy, rather than just nobody knowing where the. And so now people are holding because they're like, no, my Pudgy Penguin's going to be more expensive in the future, and people want to buy it from me, and I have status. It's congrats to those guys, and that's the way to do it.
Yeah, we all saw them when they were cheap, and I thought that's cute. See, I'm not touching that whole Ethereum project, and it did good. I still got my pickles though.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of those pickles from the project he did right before.
Nice. Well, yeah. We'll see what happens. Sadly, it's not that guy in charge anymore, so I don't think it'll work. Again,
Yeah.
it's the founder, whoever's in charge.
Okay, we're just over half an hour. We've barely even said the word ETF. It didn't go through the 19th. Yeah,
They
that
go
was
to
the
January
deadline.
10th
So
now. It's
January
definitely
10th
not
is the new
before.
deadline. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Well, final
it's
deadline.
the price held enough. And I'm talking Bitcoin, ETH, and some of those alts that are have legs right now. But liquidity is coming back in a lot of places. The ETF news is still there. The halving is coming in 2024. Let's pretend we're going to stick to our schedule and be back here in 2 weeks. December, what is that, the 13th?
Mm-hmm.
Where are we at on the 13th?
So the ideal circumstances is just grinds up 1,000 at a time over the course of a week, each 2 week, like so it goes up to 39 and goes sideways and whatever. And people start to get bored and they start to try and go for more beta on alts. Less likely, probably more likely we go to like 40, 42 and then kind of drift back down to like 39 and then or sideways like we do right now and not really dip ever and just kind of grind up. But yeah, it's hard to know like what happens over the Christmas break, like who's buying right now. It would seem to be institutions, so the idea probably would be that it tops out sometime as they all go on break. And I don't know, do they get to put pause on the market and it just goes like this? But either way, it would seem to me that
Just
alts also
twap the
kind of rally
holidays.
alongside this. Yeah, and then ETF is launched, boom, and then you have like a series of days before you're selling to avoid the dip that's coming, because that whole ride up here was all anticipatory.
Mhm.
Then you'll have like late buyers. Oh, it's launched. Whee! Nope. In theory, I mean, who the fuck knows?
Nick, who the fuck knows? What do you think?
And I think what I hope actually, and what I think also is going to be a bit boring, but crabby. Everyone in anticipation, but I hope that boringness may lead to like a little holiday alt season. I mean, I don't know, but I mean, people are making profit on it, whether or not it's slow and steady or volatile. And again, we want to see where that money can come from in order to go into other spaces. And yeah, I want to see some low cap alts take off and some other stuff.
And we've seen some of those jump up 4 or 5x over the last couple of months and then take a dip where people have taken profits and moved it around, maybe back to bigger assets. But yeah, it's been a nice grind up. I'm with you guys. I think we kind of crab across. We're not going to bear back down. Capo's not going to come true. But I think I'm going to start a business selling t-shirts that says "Twap the Holidays." And that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
See, that's the way we do this.
Let's go.
Innovation like that.
Yes, the innovation labs of the what are we? BACS, not the BAYC.
Yeah. Hey, you could also go to 32, like, next week as well. That's the other option. So,
Yeah, that's option number 4.
At
Up,
some
down.
point, but if the 10th is locked in, you don't necessarily puke your position if you're buying spot, and it's traders who might push it down a bit, but we missed the 19th, we get the 10th. Then January 11th, if it doesn't pass,
Yeah.
big dump.
Maybe. Or maybe you're a big institution, you have your regular Friday meeting, and they're all like, oh, well, it's not going to pass till January. We can't be in it, this volatile asset, until we know something. So let's just dump our position. These are all just predictions.
Okay. Hopefully we'll be back in 2 weeks, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
See you
Catch
guys.
you soon.
Wait, what's this called? Big announcement coming soon? Yeah, 5, 4, 3.